Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm super excited to be here to teach and share with you tonight. For those of you who might be tuning in for the first time, I'm SBell, and I am the founder and owner of SBell Wellness. I'm an integrative nutrition health coach and a doTERRA product educator and provider. So tonight we are going to talk about nutrition, and we're going to talk about some supplementation. I'm probably going to share quite a few of them just because a lot of people who've been tuning into the community have heard some of the basics, and I'd love to really talk about some of the other ones that are available too. And so we'll talk about those tonight. Don't hesitate to ask questions and those kind of things if you have them as we're going over. So let's talk about nutrition a little bit and why we want to even think about that in our lives. So it's pretty foundational to our wellness. I learned that in my own journey and just had so much success from being able to tune into what I was eating and see that it really mattered for how I was feeling. And so over time, did lots of things myself. And then that's kind of what led me to health coaching in the area of nutrition, because I learned so much personally, and I just felt like they were almost like they were secrets that weren't being shared with the world. And so I think it's incredibly important for the information to be out there. So a lot of it has to do with like even just asking the question, why are people around us so sick, right? And a lot of that does, point back to food. And, part of that is because we do have this culture in America of eating quick, fast, and processed food. And, what I call food-like substances, because, it becomes this false impression that we are eating, actual food because it's kind of the normal. But the reality is that these things are made in a lab, and they're pretty far away from the food that is naturally grown. And so that's a lot of it is just, food can really impact the body. We have so many issues that oftentimes we're not looking at the root of it or looking at the diet and saying like, hey, is there something that I could be doing? And so, as Americans, we actually spend more money on healthcare than anywhere. And, part of that is because there's an issue in the body, and the immediate response is to go to medication. And then medication leads to side effects, and then you go on another medication to care for the side effects. And so it's this vicious cycle that happens because we're not actually just getting back to the basis and looking at nutrition. And I've done other classes where you guys can tune in and see recordings of that, or, in individual health coaching, we really dig in, because the reality is that I can't tell you what to eat right now, because it really is about individuality. It's so important to make sure that we are tuning into our own bodies, learning how to listen to our bodies, because, one person's food could be another person's poison. I talked a little bit about my own journey at the beginning when I started here, and you guys, part of it was, having food sensitivity testing and finding out that I had intolerance to fruit. Okay, so fruit, thinking that's a health food, right? Would have never guessed that. And so there's definitely digging in that has to happen on an individual basis. But what I'm here to talk about tonight is really thinking about mindset shift of, should I start thinking about nutrition when I have these underlying issues going on? And absolutely, nutrition is foundational. It's going to allow our body to function optimally. It's going to allow us to have that increased energy we need, increased mental clarity. We really need it for immune support, mental wellness, just everything that we deal with. It really goes back to the root of what's happening in our gut. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. But maybe you are like me and you've been on a little bit of a journey, or you've always just been a really good, eater, and you've really paid attention to eating clean and that sort of thing. And so you kind of have to ask that question: do we get what we need from good health from our food? And the answer to that is not always. And the reason for that is because of the soil quality. So the soil that our food is being grown in is just being used over and over and over again, almost tirelessly sometimes. And so it's not going to have the full nutrients that we actually need to be able to have that optimal health that we're looking for. Another thing is about how it's harvested, how far away we get it from harvest. So you hear people talk about like trying to eat within season and that sort of thing. And that mindset is around the fact that lots of foods are available to us all year long, but it could have been a really long time away from when it was actually harvested. So that can actually impact the nutrition that you're getting from that food. Still good to make sure you're eating those, but we'll talk a little bit about why supplementation because of that. And then cooking. Cooking actually does deplete those digestive enzymes that the food would naturally have to support our body's ability to break it down. So cooking can impact that. And so that's another reason that we look into supplementation. So that leads us into talking about supplementation. And we talk about that for multiple reasons, brain health, cardiovascular, that's a leading cause of death in our country. So we really need to be thinking about that. Proper inflammatory response, that's predominantly what is the basis for all pain that we deal with in our body, is rooted back to inflammation. Our mental wellness, so much of that is coming from our gut. Our immune wellness, so much of that is coming from our gut. And so we really want to look at supplementation as a way to support also eating well. And so we'll talk about lifelong vitality. So lifelong vitality are a series of supplements that doTERRA has. They have the nutritional equivalent of 12 servings of fruits and vegetables in every serving that you take. That is so amazing. They're made from a whole food source. And if you've ever taken vitamins before and have felt like, I don't know if they're doing anything, it's likely because they were not from a whole food source. And so that means they could have fillers in them. And you're not going to get what you need from that. And so it's going to feel like vitamins don't work. Completely different with doTERRA. They are made from a whole food source. They have essential oils in them to maximize their ability to absorb and support. The omegas are actually in a capsule, which help to preserve their potency. So oftentimes, people say like, oh, I don't like to take omegas. I get that fishy taste. And you're not going to get that because they're in a specialized capsule to really preserve the potency of that. We want to make sure we're getting what we think we're getting when we are supplementing. Let's see. And so when I talked about omegas, you're going to want those in your life because they're so important for brain health. They're super important for that healthy inflammatory. So what happens is our body tries to flush those things out. The inflammation actually stays in our bloodstream. So you want to make sure that you're having those omegas, that those fatty acids are really helping to flush that out of the body. And then the Microplex VMZ, that's going to be your multivitamins. That's going to have, all of your vitamins and minerals. And then your Alpha CRS is going to be your cellular vitality. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for that longevity. So it's going to support you in your energy at a cellular level. Okay, so the cells have those mitochondria powerhouses that really produce the energy. And this supplement is really going to go to work in that area for your energy. So you're going to want to make sure that you have those. And then gut health. So I talked about how so much of food we're putting in is causing different things, right? And it's not only that, it's not only unhealthy diet, but it's the use of antibiotics that happen in our country that can be detrimental because of how often they're used, okay? And so what happens is antibiotics are designed to kill the bad bacteria, but they kill the good bacteria at the same time. And so what can happen is that bad bacteria just grows back and you go back on it again. If you've ever, worked with kids or had kids who have those chronic ear infections and they're on those antibiotics and it's happening over and over and over again, this is what's happening, okay? It's really, really impacting the gut. And so they just get sick again, and it's just a vicious cycle. Okay, so medications absolutely have their place, but we really need to make sure we're being mindful and informed about them so that we can do some other things in an integrative way to make sure that we're balancing that out. And one of the ways to do that is to make sure that you're taking a probiotic. And so doTERRA has 2 different probiotics. One of them is PB Assist, has a special capsule that makes sure that it can survive the stomach acid and actually get to the lower intestine where you need it to support that healthy bacteria, to continue that good bacteria that we want in our body. And so that is the one that you could take in a capsule form. And then there's also the PB Assist Junior, which is a powder form. And believe it or not, the technology that doTERRA has in the science labs is so amazing that they actually have those tiny little granules are still encapsulated so that they can survive the stomach and get to the intestines. So super amazing technology that they have to be able to make that happen. And so definitely such a quality probiotic to make sure that we are helping our body to be able to repair from any of that gut health damage that's happened over time. You know, and gut health, you guys, it impacts everything. You know, I mentioned earlier mental wellness, immune health, but even our sleep. So much of that is impacted from, you know, what's going on in our gut. Our stress, right, can be related to that. One other product I mentioned a little bit earlier when I was talking about food and how cooking it can kind of decrease those natural enzymes. And our body does make digestive enzymes. However, as we age, the amount that it makes drastically changes. And so we want to supplement with a digestive enzyme. The doTERRA product for that is called Terrazymes. It's really going to actually support your overall wellness. The research has indicated that it really helps with connective tissues. It helps with skin health, because so much of you know, these things that we see with skin breakouts or you know, quickly aging skin, those kind of things actually are just a body message letting us know that something's going on in our gut. And so the really cool thing about Terrazymes is that you can take many of them a day. So you could take them with, you know, every meal that you do, you can take about 3 to 5 of them a day. So it can help you to break down all the meals. If you have food sensitivities or intolerances that you don't actually know about, they can actually help you be able to break that down. Or maybe you're like me and you know what they are, but you also like to be social and eat with other people. And so you might have those detour meals, right? And so these are going to help you be able to break that down. Awesome that you can use them all ages, you guys. I have mamas that put them in the bottle. They, you know, open up the capsule and put that powder in to be able to help the baby be able to break down and digest. So super awesome tip for that. So those are our gut health that we really want to tune into. I'm going to start digging into some of the other supplements that we probably haven't talked about in length in other classes, and I think it's just really important to talk about those. So first up, we're going to talk about deep blue polyphenols. And so you've probably heard of deep blue rub or deep blue oil if you use doTERRA products, how amazing they are to soothe the body. This is different in the sense that it doesn't have the deep blue oil in that. That's not an oil that you would take internally. These are different. They're just called that same line because they are soothing for the body. They are designed for discomfort. And so they're really going to help you with muscle and joint comfort. You know, you can use them in tandem with the oil and the rub if that's something that you already have in routine. You can use them daily if you are someone who deals with joint pain or muscle discomfort on a regular basis. You're an athlete, or you know, work out pretty vigorously. You want to make sure that you are taking those. Or you could just take them as needed. I kind of take them more on an as needed basis for me. They were kind of a replacement for an over-the-counter, you know, pain reliever that I would take for any sort of discomfort. The active ingredients in there, there's a few of them, but just to touch on a couple, we've got frankincense in there, which we know is just so amazing for that cellular level support, really helping healthy inflammatory is why you're going to get the relief that you're looking for when you're dealing with discomfort. and curcuminoids, which we know are from turmeric. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit with the turmeric capsules. But curcuminoids are also one of the active ingredients in the deep blue polyphenols. And the really cool thing about the deep blue polyphenols, as well as the PB Assist and the Terrazymes that I talked about, and then a couple others I'll talk about, when you get your LLV, your lifelong vitality supplements, you can actually add a lot of these on for a significant cost savings. And so that's why I think it's really important to talk about these, because you could start to add them into your routine as you're taking the lifelong vitality, and start to swap out some of those products that you would have been reaching for over the counter. Next up, we'll talk about adaptive. So, oh my gosh, when doTERRA came out with adaptive, you guys, like, it's just really groundbreaking research that they did. They did clinical trials on this, and the targeted response for emotional support is incredibly phenomenal. And so the adaptive capsules, they actually are really supporting brain health, mood, mental well-being. They're really helping us adapt to stress, hence the name adaptive. For me, the way that I describe them, it's a complete pivot. You can be in a stressful moment. You can be dealing with, some, long-term stress that you've been dealing with, and you put these into your routine, and it really allows your mental capacity to shift and, pivot away and be able to manage it and think through it. So it just such a phenomenal support for cognitive, really has shown to have a great response for focus. So if you're someone who deals with, clarity of thinking or having trouble sustaining focus, this is definitely one to check out and try it out. And then there's different times that you could take it. Some people take it in the morning, some people take it at night. For me, I tend to take it in my nighttime routine. But I would say if you are trying it out, try it out, at multiple times in your day and see which one is where you're getting the most benefit from, and just be able to notice for your body where you would want to take that. I talked a minute ago about curcuminoids and how curcuminoids, if you haven't heard about what turmeric does for the body, do a quick Google search and you'll see what, research has been out there, and people have been using turmeric for quite some time. One of the things with turmeric, however, is that what they were finding is that it's incredibly hard for the body to actually absorb it on its own. And so people were using things like black pepper, which they were finding were really helping the body to absorb it better. And doTERRA spent quite a few years actually trying to perfect a technology that was going to allow us to absorb that better. And so the turmeric capsules came out last year, and those are really, they have that special encapsulation as well. And then they also have not only the curcuminoids, so the turmeric, extract in there, but they also have the turmerones, which is from the essential oil. So when they put those two together, what they have found is that the oil with the curcuminoids is actually 11 times more absorbent in the body by putting those two together. And so why do you want them? Well, you want them for healthy inflammatory. And they are really going to help your body to fight off those free radicals that are naturally a part of our body's process as it's trying to repair and, heal and do all these things that it does to keep us healthy. And so that's, a really good one for that, as well as just protecting the brain and the heart. And so we talked about that in the beginning, how, cardiovascular disease is so prevalent. And so really tuning into some natural solutions that are going to support that is definitely something to consider. Next up, we'll talk about serenity. So I talked a little bit about how so much of what we do in nutrition really can impact our sleep. It's probably one of the top questions that I get in my, health coaching and doTERRA business is like, sleep is hard. Like, why am I not sleeping? Why is it not consistent? Why can I fall asleep and then I wake up? Lots and lots of questions that I get about sleep. So let's talk about Serenity capsules. Super awesome that they are not habit forming. That is a big problem with over-the-counter medication for sleep, is that it is addictive and it starts to cause other problems. It starts to cause grogginess, and those things are not going to happen when we're using plant-based supports. These Serenity capsules are going to help you fall asleep better. Like I said, they're not going to give you that groggy feeling that you might have gotten from some other kind of support you're going to do. A routine that I would recommend with them is taking them about 30 minutes before you know you're going to go to bed. Another routine thing that you'll want to do with that is turn off your screens. So 30 minutes to an hour before, if not more, if you are able to do that. And make sure that you're just able to start to get in that wind down routine. So that's a good way to take them. And then let's tune into phytoestrogen and bone nutrient for a moment. So phytoestrogen, first important thing to say is there's no estrogen in phytoestrogen. People ask that question. And it's important because people don't want to take estrogen supplements if you've got different things going on for your body hormonally. So I want to clear that up for sure. The reason why it's called that is because it is a plant that is supporting our body's ability to metabolize estrogen. And so we want to metabolize estrogen because as we move into different parts of our cycle, we need that estrogen to actually decrease so that some of the other hormones like progesterone can actually increase. And so things like PMS and moods and all those things that happen, it's because our body is not metabolizing the estrogen that it needs to be doing at the time it needs to be doing. And so this is a plant-based, it's flaxseed, it's pomegranate, it's it's called genistein soy. So some people ask about soy too, because it has soy in there, and some people say, oh, I've heard that soy is bad. Synthetic soy or just soybean is something you want to avoid. However, this is grown in a very specific way that it's not going to have those negative those negative things happening that some other soys would have. And you can also take this if you are peri or postmenopausal. It's really going to help with those uncomfortable type of things that start happening with body temperature and all of those kind of things. And so this is a supplement that can help you with that. And then bone nutrient. You guys, we want to talk about bone nutrient because it's not just something that you want to be taking as you get older. You do want to take it in your younger years to make sure that you're not playing catch up later on. And so taking the bone nutrient is going to be able to allow your body to have those healthy bones that we need to support all those things we were talking about earlier with pain. All right, we've got a couple more, you guys. I want to talk about Mito to Max. So Mito to Max, I talked a little bit about energy when we talked about the lifelong vitality. This will be an add-on to that. So if you are someone who is dealing with like low energy, maybe you do work out a lot, so you know that you're going to need more of that cellular level energy to sustain for that. This is going to enhance your stamina. This is going to really allow that, workout that you're really looking to get from that without fatiguing so much, right? Like a lot of times we kind of avoid workout because it's like, oh my gosh, I just want a nap afterwards. So this is going to help you be able to enhance that stamina. It's also going to help you with that mental energy. Okay, so I tend to take this one at my lunchtime dose of vitamins because it's going to be able to help sustain that afternoon slump without reaching for a stimulant like caffeine to keep us going. It actually helps. Let's tune into this one right now because I think it's really important in the way that things are going in our world. It really helps our body make efficient use of the oxygen that we need. So we want to make sure that we're getting the oxygen that we need in some of the social distancing rules that we are following in our current situation. And so this is something to think about as we're looking for that efficient flow of oxygen in our body. And then if you are someone who has been, using caffeine on on the long term to try to support that, this might be a really healthy alternative to start looking at so that you can kind of move away from that stimulant that's also causing adrenal fatigue and those kind of things in our body over time. Next up, we'll talk about Zendocrine complex. So Zendocrine complex is detoxification. Our body is designed to filter out and filter those toxins and be able to get that out. We've got the liver, the kidneys, our colon, our lungs, our skin. Those are all naturally designed to help us filter out, but they need some support. Okay, we're putting lots of toxins in there from products, from the air, from the food, all of these things that we talk about. We want to support normal detox. So Zendocrine is going to allow us to do that. And you're going to get some positive benefits. You're going to get healthy skin and nails from that too. Because when our body can detox and get that out, you're going to have that benefit from those. And then last up, I'm going to talk about Yarrow Palm. As I talked about skin, Yarrow Palm is our cellular beauty complex. It has vitamin C in there, which is really important for our immune health. It's essential for collagen in our skin. This Yarrow Palm Beauty Complex also has zinc. If you've done any looking into zinc, it's really important for immune system. So another thing that could be also giving us a positive benefit right now is making sure that we're kind of tapping into that. There's essential oils in there that are also very potent and supportive of the immune system. And then of course it has the Yarrow Palm in there, which if you've used the Yarrow Palm for the skin, you know that it has some amazing benefits for the skin. Has the pomegranate in there, has frankincense, which we've talked about for skin many times about how that can help with that aging process. But the really cool thing about the Yarrow Palm complex is that it has melon extract in it. So why do we need melon extract? Well, what they discovered in Europe is that they were looking at the development of melons and they saw that there were some melons that were slower to ripen. And they realized that there was a higher extract of the melon in the melons that were slower to ripen. And so they isolated that and they figured out that we are also probably looking for our skin to be slower to ripen or age, right? And so that is why this active ingredient is really going to bat for, that beauty from the inside out. And so that's one of the top reasons that, Yarrow Palm is kind of set apart from some other things that we would be taking to try to supplement some of our skincare. All right, you guys, I know that was a lot, but I think it's really important to just really get them out there and talk about them. Do you have to take them all to be healthy? No. But are you dealing with something and instead of going to that over the counter, or really even is it like, am I totally sick and I need to go to the doctor and figure that out, sick care? Or is it something that I can be empowered and look for, a plant source that's going to be able to support? And I really encourage you for the latter. Like, let's look at that first, right? We can lean on those doctors for things that we need to, but I think there's so much that we can be empowered to do on our own when we learn and we're informed about these plant therapeutic sources that we can really support our body. And so, you can start to just kind of think about like when, some of these things I talked about tonight, think about what that next thing is. Like, what is that, area that you're really trying to hone in on? And go back to the foundation of it. Go back to looking at the nutrition part of it. I'd be happy to, consult with you. I do free health histories to really help you kind of just dig in about you as far as the nutrition part goes. And then start to look at like, are there some supplements that I can use to really support this? And try them out. And the thing about Lifelong Vitality, you guys, the most amazing thing about it is that doTERRA has a 30-day money back guarantee. 30 days. So it doesn't mean that you have to take it for a couple days and be like, oh shoot, I don't know if it worked or not, right? Or, oh, I forgot to take it that day. No, you could take it for a whole month, give it a try, really put it in routine and see what you notice. You know, I think that that's so amazing that they do that. And I can't say enough about what it's done for me. You know, I talk about that on an all the time, right? Because I was on this journey to really be able to move away from some prescription medications for different health issues. It really, really has gone to bat to make sure that I can be supported with those things. And not have to worry about the side effects or that I'm not feeling better, but I'm still taking this because somebody told me to, right? So empowers us. We are empowered to be able to take our health and the health of our family in our hands and be able to support each other. That's why we're here. So make sure if you need any information or have questions that you reach out to me. You can jump on over to sbellwellness.com. All my contact information is there. You can catch other classes. I brought up a couple of those a little bit tonight. You can catch those over on the SBell Wellness YouTube channel. If you subscribe to the channel, they'll actually send you an email every time I add a new one, so you'll be updated to know, you know, what topic might be of interest to you. And I just encourage you to browse through it, see what might be of interest to you, or maybe someone you know. You know, I really appreciate those referrals too. I have a passion for making sure that we get this, you know, mindset into the homes around our country so that we can really focus on wellness versus sick care. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything, and I'll see you next time. All right, you guys, hang on one second.